I never thought I'd watch my own mother cry in a courtroom and feel nothing. No guilt, no regret, just clarity. Because those tears didn't come from remorse, they came from being exposed. And it all started with a single notification on my phone. My name is Opal. I'm 27 years old, and 3 weeks ago, my entire life split clean down the middle. Before and after I found out my sister stole my identity. Not borrowed, not made a mistake, stole. 7 credit cards, 2 personal loans. $78,000. All in my name. But here's the part that still messes with my head. The worst betrayal didn't come from my sister, it came from my parents. Let me take you back. It was a Tuesday morning, 7:42 a.m. I was brushing my teeth, half asleep, when my phone buzzed. Normally, I ignore notifications that early. But this one, something about it felt wrong. Credit score alert. Your score has changed. I laughed. Actually laughed. My credit never changed. I was that person, the responsible one. Bills on autopay. No missed payments. Low utilization. I'd worked years for that 780 score, so I tapped the notification. 4U12. I just stared at the screen. That number didn't make sense. You don't drop almost 400 points unless something is seriously wrong. My toothbrush slipped out of my hand and hit the sink. I pulled up the full credit report, heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. And there it was. One card, then another, Capital One, Chase, Discover, American Express, 7 credit cards, maxed out, 2 personal loans, total debt $78,000. I sat down on the edge of my bathtub because my legs straight up quit on me. This couldn't be real. It had to be a glitch. A typo. Some kind of system error, so I called the first number I saw. Hi, I said, my voice barely sounding like mine. There has to be a mistake. I've never opened an account with you. There was a pause on the other end. Then the rep said, real calm, real polite, ma'am, we show 7 accounts under your social security number. Would you like me to read the billing address? My stomach dropped. Yes. She read it. My parents' address. The room started spinning. I didn't need a detective. I didn't need a lawyer. I already knew. I knew who lived at that house. I knew who always needed money. I knew who had asked for my social security number years ago, like it was no big deal. But even then, I didn't want to believe it. Because admitting the truth meant admitting something worse. That the people who were supposed to protect me never would. And that was just the beginning, because when I confronted my family later that day, I expected shock. I expected anger. I expected someone to be on my side. What I got instead was silence. Looking back now, I can see it clearly. The setup, the timing, the way everything lined up just a little too perfectly. But in that moment, I thought it was just a family dinner. That's the thing about betrayal. It never shows up looking like an enemy. It shows up smiling across the table, asking you to pass the salt. 2 months before my credit score collapsed, my sister Brianna invited everyone over to my parents' house. That alone should have tipped me off. Brianna didn't do family dinners. She did brunches, selfies, and disappearing acts. But suddenly she was all about reconnecting. She'd been posting quotes on Instagram like, "Family is everything, healing old wounds. New chapter." My mom ate it up. So after working a 10-hour day, I drove 45 minutes across Phoenix, bottle of wine on the passenger seat, rehearsing polite conversation in my head like I always did. I showed up early, of course I did. I set the table, helped in the kitchen, did the things the easy child does without being asked. Then Brianna walked in, late obviously. Mom practically sprinted across the room to hug her. "Oh my God, sweetheart!" Then her eyes landed on Brianna's purse. "Designer. Clean. Expensive. Is that new?" Mom asked, eyes wide. I recognized it instantly. "Coach, at least $500. Brianna just smiled. That smooth, confident smile she always had. "Don't worry, Mom. I've got things handled." Handled. That word hit different later. No one asked how she could afford it. No one asked about her finances. No one ever did. Dinner rolled on like it always did. The Brianna show. Her job. Her apartment. Her dating life. Her stress. Mom leaned in, worried. "Are you doing okay with rent this month?" I took a sip of wine and finally tried to enter the conversation. "I'm actually saving for a down payment," I said. "Should be ready to buy in a few months." Mom nodded, distracted. That's nice, honey. Then, Paul, can you clear the plates? And just like that, I disappeared again. Later, while I was rinsing dishes, Brianna slid into the kitchen beside me. Casual. Too casual. Hey, she said. Can I borrow your laptop real quick? My phone's about to die and I need to check my email. I didn't hesitate. Why would I? She was my sister. I handed it over and went back to scrubbing plates, completely unaware that I was handing her access to my entire life. She was gone for about 20 minutes. 20 minutes I didn't question. 20 minutes that would cost me everything. I didn't know she was scrolling through my cloud storage. Didn't know she found the folder I stupidly labeled important documents. I didn't know that dinner wasn't about reconnecting. It was about reconnaissance. She wasn't catching up with family. She was collecting pieces. And the worst part, I had already given her most of them, because this wasn't the first time Brianna had asked me for small information. It started years earlier, when we lived together. And that's when I unknowingly handed her the final key. There's a specific kind of pain that hits when you realize no one forced their way into your life. You opened the door. You smiled. You handed them the key. That realization haunted me more than the dead ever could. 3 years before everything blew up, Brianna and I lived together. I just graduated college. She needed a roommate. I needed cheap rent. On paper, it made sense. We shared a 2-bedroom apartment in Temp. Thin walls. Bad parking. But it was affordable. And I trusted her. That was my first mistake. Because when you trust someone completely, you don't hide anything. I sorted mail at the kitchen table. Left bank statements on the counter. Filled out job paperwork on the couch with my social security card right there in the open. And Brianna noticed everything. The questions started small. Too small to register as red flags. Hey, what was our old address on Mill Avenue? I need it for a background check, I told her. What's Mom's maiden name again? I always forget. I answered. When's your birthday? I want to send you something. I smiled and texted it back. Every question had a reason. Every reason sounded normal. That's how manipulation works. It hides inside familiarity. One night, I was filling out HR paperwork for my new accounting job. Brianna leaned over the couch like she always did. What's your social? She asked casually. I'm updating the emergency contact info on my phone plan. Want to add you? I didn't even look up. I just rattled off the 9 digits. No hesitation. No pause. No instinct to protect myself. Because she was my sister, who thinks their sister is about to commit identity theft. That moment replayed in my head 1,000 times later. The sound of my own voice. The ease of it. The trust. I didn't know I was giving her access to my entire financial existence. I didn't know I was building a weapon for her. Piece by piece, we lived together for 8 months. 8 months of shared space, shared routines, shared information. And then I moved out. New job, new phase. Life went on. Or at least, I thought it did. What I didn't know was that 18 months after that conversation, the first fraudulent credit card was opened. When I later scrolled through our old text messages, I saw it clearly. The pattern, the timing, the planning. Every question lined up perfectly with a security check. Every random detail fit a form. She hadn't acted on impulse. She waited. And when life got hard for her, she didn't ask for help. She took mine. That's the part that changed everything for me. This wasn't desperation. It was entitlement. She didn't see my hard work as mine. She saw it as available. And the moment I realized that, something inside me snapped. Because the next thing I discovered wasn't just debt. It was proof. Proof that she'd been living large on my name. And posting every second of it online. Including something she bought on my birthday. There's betrayal. And then there's betrayal that smiles for the camera. The kind that posts captions like, living my best life, while you're drowning in consequences you didn't earn. That's when my sadness turned into rage. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat on my bed with my laptop open, credit reports on one side, Instagram on the other. I wasn't hoping to be wrong anymore, and the truth showed up fast. March 15th. A first 200 charge at Nordstrom. I scrolled. March 16th. Brianna posts a mirror selfie in a cashmere sweater. Treat yourself, June. A luxury resort in Sedona. Her stories from that weekend. Champagne by the pool. Sunset Canyon views. Hashtag self-care. Every charge had a matching post. Every post had my name attached to it. But the one that broke me, September 23rd, my birthday, a $3,200 charge at the Gucci store in Scottsdale. I felt sick. I scrolled back. September 24th, there it was. Brianna, standing in the Arizona sun, designer bag gleaming on her arm. Caption: sometimes you just gotta spoil yourself. She bought herself a Gucci bag, with my identity on my birthday. I sat in my car in my apartment parking lot for over an hour. Engine off. Windows up, Arizona heat pressing in. I couldn't move. Part of me still wanted to excuse it. Maybe she was desperate. Maybe she planned to pay it back. Maybe I was overreacting. But the Gucci bag killed that lie. I had two choices. Choice 1, stay quiet. Pay off $78,000. Let my sister keep living off my name. Choice 2, say something. Do something. Burn the version of my family I thought I had. I started the car. I drove straight to my parents' house. Brianna's car was in the driveway. Of course it was. I didn't knock. I used my key, the one Mom insisted I keep, for emergencies. This felt like one. She was sitting on the couch, scrolling her phone like nothing in the world was wrong. She looked up, surprised but not scared. "Oh, Paul. What are you doing here?" I didn't sit, didn't breathe, I just asked it. "Did you open credit cards in my name?" Her face flickered, confusion, recognition, then practiced innocence. "What? That's insane." I stepped closer. "The IP address is this house. The billing address is this house. The purchases match your posts." She exhaled. "Okay. I was going to pay it back," she said. "You don't understand how hard things have been for me. You bought a Gucci bag on my birthday." She snapped back, defensive now. "You have a stable job, I have nothing. You could have helped me. But you never offered." I stared at her. "You didn't ask. You just took. It's not stealing if it's family." That's when I heard footsteps behind me. My mom's voice, sharp, worried. "What's going on in here?" And just like that, the real betrayal began. You expect strangers to disappoint you. You expect the world to be unfair. But nothing prepares you for the moment your own parents look at the truth and still choose someone else. My mom rushed into the living room still wearing her gardening gloves. Dirt on her knees like this was just another normal day. Dad followed a few steps behind her. Quiet, cautious, already bracing himself. "What's all this yelling?" Mom asked. Brianna didn't even hesitate. She started crying. Not subtle tears, full-on shaking, breathless sobs. "Paul's accusing me of stealing," she said, voice cracking perfectly on cue. I didn't raise my voice. "I'm not accusing," I said. "I'm stating facts. I laid it all out, the credit cards, the loans, the $78,000, the IP address, the matching Instagram posts." I watched my mom's face as she processed it. For a moment, just one, I thought I might see anger. Then she turned to Brianna. "Is this true?" Brianna nodded, sobbing harder. And then, my mom turned back to me. "Can't you just help her fix this quietly? Help her. Not me. Not the daughter whose future was wrecked. Her." "Mum," I said slowly. "She stole my identity." "She didn't steal," Mom snapped. "She borrowed without permission." "Borrowed. For 18 months. She's your sister," Mom continued. "You can pay it off slowly." I felt something crack inside my chest. I looked at my dad. "Dad." He didn't meet my eyes. "Your mother's right," he said quietly. "We should handle this as a family. Handle it as a family." Which apparently meant, I handle it alone. Brianna was already calming down. Her tears slowed. She checked her phone. Conversation over. I stood in the middle of the living room I grew up in, and realized I was alone. I tried one last time. "Fine," I said. "You don't want police involved. Then help me fix it." Mom looked hopeful. "A payment plan," I continued. "Something official notarized. Brianna pays me back over time. I won't press charges." It was fair. It was generous. "We don't have that kind of money," Mom said. "I'm not asking for a lump sum. I'm asking for accountability." Brianna sat up straighter. "I can't sign anything legal," she said. "What if I miss payments? You'd sue me. You already owe me $78,000. Silence. So let me get this straight, I said. You want me to pay for Brianna's crimes for the next decade, so no one feels uncomfortable. Mom sighed. You'll figure it out, Opal. You always do. Those words. The same words they'd used my whole life. The reason I never asked for help. The reason I learned to survive quietly. You're right, I said, grabbing my keys. I will figure it out. I walked to the door. Just not the way you want me to. I left without looking back. Let me ask you something real quick. If you were in my place, would you keep the peace and drown in debt? Or would you do what I did next? There's a moment when you realize keeping the peace is just another way of hurting yourself. That was the night I stopped being the easy one. The next morning at work, I told Marcus. Marcus sat 2 cubicles down from me. Corporate law wasn't his specialty, but he'd passed the bar and more importantly, he listened. We were in the break room, the hum of vending machines filling the silence as I laid everything out. He didn't interrupt. When I finished, he set his coffee down real slow. Oh pal, he said, this isn't a family issue. My stomach tightened. This is identity theft. Federal crime. I swallowed. She could go to prison. Worst case, 15 years, he said, but realistically. First offense probation, restitution. 15 years echoed in my head. That's my sister. I whispered. She treated you like an ATM, he replied. And she counted on you staying quiet. That's when it clicked. Silence was the plan. Marcus slid his phone across the table. Phoenix Police Department, Financial Crimes Unit, and file an FTC identity theft report too. I stared at the screen. What if I'm wrong? I asked. He looked at me. Are you? I thought about the IP address, the Gucci bag, the Instagram posts. No. That night, I didn't sleep. I scrolled through years of text messages with Brianna. Every random question. Every innocent request. And then I found it. A message from 18 months earlier. Hey, can you send me your SN? I want to add you to the family phone plan. My reply sat right there. 9 digits. Heart emoji. There you go. I stared at it for 20 minutes. I gave her the key. But what she did with it. That was a crime. I picked up my phone and made the call. The Financial Crimes Unit was smaller than I expected. Detective Angela Ford listened as I explained everything. When I finished, she nodded. This is a clear case. My chest tightened. What happens now? We open an investigation. And yes, your sister will be arrested. I didn't flinch. I won't change my mind. I hope not, she said gently. You did the right thing. That evening, I called my parents. I filed a police report against Brianna. 3 seconds of silence. Then my mom exploded. You did what? I had no choice. You're sending your sister to prison. No, I said. I'm reporting a crime. If you don't drop the charges. She snapped. You are no longer welcome in this family. The line went dead. I sat in my car and cried. Not because I doubted my decision, but because I finally accepted the truth. I'd never had the family I thought I did. 3 days later, my dad texted. Family meeting. Sunday, 2 p.m. I almost didn't go, but I did. And when I walked into that living room, I realized it wasn't a meeting. It was a trial. When I walked into my parents' living room that Sunday, I knew immediately. This wasn't a conversation. It was an ambush. They were all there, not just my parents, not just Brianna, Aunt Carol, Uncle Pete, Grandma June in her wheelchair, even my cousin Derek, who I hadn't seen in years. 12 people, 12 faces turned toward me like a jury. Sit down, Opal, my mom said, cold. I didn't. Mom stood up. Opal needs to explain why she's trying to destroy this family. Aunt Carol spoke first. Brianna made a mistake. We all make mistakes. Uncle Pete chimed in. You're really gonna ruin her life over money. Grandma June shook her head. In my day, families handled things privately. Every word landed like a punch. Not one person asked how I was doing. Not one. Brianna sat by the window, crying softly. Mom's hand rubbed her back. The victim. I'm not destroying this family, I said. She did that 18 months ago. Silence. Dad finally spoke. Can't you just drop this? For me. For him. Not for justice. Not for what was right. For comfort. No, I said. Mom stood up. If you walk out that door, don't come back. The room froze. I grabbed my purse. I spent my whole life being the daughter who didn't need anything, I said. But I won't pay for a crime I didn't commit. I walked out. Behind me, Mom started crying. Not soft tears. Ugly ones. The sound of losing control. 3 weeks later, Brianna was arraigned, and that's when my parents made their final choice. They didn't sit with me. They sat with her. And what my mother said under oath. I'll never forget it. I thought I was prepared. I wasn't. Nothing prepares you for hearing your own mother lie about you. Under oath in a courtroom. The Maricopa County Courthouse felt colder than it should have. Fluorescent lights, hard benches, that echo every courtroom has, the sound of consequences. I wore my navy blazer like armor. Hands folded, back straight. Brianna sat at the defendant's table. No makeup, gray cardigan, looking small. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Then my parents walked in. For one stupid second, I thought they were coming to sit with me. They didn't. They walked past my row and sat directly behind Brianna. Mom reached forward and squeezed her shoulder. Dad nodded at her lawyer. My mother looked at me. Her face was stone. Your Honor, Brianna's lawyer said. We have character witnesses. My heart dropped. Mom was first. She swore to tell the truth. Then she looked straight at me. My daughter Brianna is not a criminal, Mom said. She made a mistake. Then she turned it on me. Opal has always been jealous of her sister. The air left my lungs. She's vindictive. Mom continued. She's using this situation to destroy our family over money. Vindictive. That word echoed. Dad followed. Brianna was going to pay it back, he said. Opal never gave her a chance. That was a lie. I couldn't speak. Witnesses don't interrupt. I just sat there while my parents rewrote history. Judge Coleman hadn't said a word. Not until then. She adjusted her glasses. Mr. and Mrs. Carter, she said calmly, please remain standing. The room went silent. You believe Opal is being vindictive? The judge asked. Yes, Your Honor, Mom said quickly. The judge nodded slowly. Then she asked one question. At any point, Judge Coleman said, did either of you offer to pay the $78,000 your daughter Brianna stole? Mom opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Dad stared at the floor. Seconds passed. Silence. We don't have that kind of money, Mom whispered. I didn't ask if you had it, the judge said. I asked if you offered. Did you offer a payment plan? A loan? Anything? No answer. Mom started crying. Real crying. The judge leaned forward. You asked this court for mercy for the criminal, she said. But I see no mercy shown to the victim. I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks. Validation. The gavel came down. And just like that, the story flipped. But what happened next? The plea deal, the fallout, the final consequence. That's where everything truly changed. There's a strange quiet that comes after justice. Not relief. Not victory. Just silence. 6 weeks after that courtroom moment, Brianna took the plea deal. I wasn't there for the sentencing. Not because I was scared, but because I didn't need to watch my sister face consequences to know they were real. Detective Ford called me afterward. She pleaded guilty to identity theft and credit card fraud, she said. 2 years suspended, 5 years probation, full restitution. I closed my eyes. How much? I asked. All of it, $78,000 plus interest. At her income level, it would take a decade, 10 years of monthly payments. Miss 1. Prison, no contact order. Ford added. She can't call, text, email, or contact you through anyone else. Good, she wasn't sorry. She was mad she got caught. I saw it in her eyes the last time she looked at me. That's when I stopped mourning the sister I thought I had. Because she never existed. 3 days later, my dad called. I almost didn't answer. But I did. We met for coffee, neutral ground. He looked smaller. Older. I should have stood up for you, he said. It wasn't a full apology, but it was something. I set boundaries. No family events with Brianna. No discussions defending her. Mom could call when she was ready to stop blaming me. Dad nodded. He understood too late. 6 months later my credit score climbed, 412 to 580. Still not great, but climbing. The fraudulent accounts were being removed, one by one. Every month, I got a piece of myself back. At work, my boss called me in. I thought I was in trouble. Instead, she offered me a promotion. Takes integrity to do what you did, she said. Integrity, I called it survival. I found a new apartment, no balcony, but it was mine. The down payment was coming together again, slowly. Honestly, people ask me if I regret it, losing my family, watching my mom cry, being called vindictive. The answer isn't simple. But what I learned at the end, that's the part that matters most. People still ask me if I regret it. If I regret pressing charges. If I regret losing my family. If I regret watching my mother cry in a courtroom while I sat there, unmoved. And the truth? Some nights I do. Some nights, I still reach for my phone. I'll see something dumb online. A meme Brianna would have laughed at. A memory only she would understand. And for half a second I forget. Then it hits me all over again. The sister I miss never really existed. I miss the idea of her. I miss the version of my family I thought I had. Sunday dinners, feeling chosen, feeling safe. But that family only existed as long as I stayed quiet, as long as I paid the price. My therapist said something that changed everything. If a family only stays together when one person agrees to be sacrificed, she said, then it isn't a family. It's a system. And I was the load-bearing wall. The moment I stopped carrying everything, the guilt, the debt, the responsibility, the system collapsed, and everyone blamed me for it. But that's not destruction. That's gravity. Here's what I've learned. Trust isn't automatic. Blood doesn't equal safety. And love does not require you to destroy yourself. People who call you dramatic for setting boundaries are usually the ones benefiting from you having none. I don't share personal information freely anymore. I don't confuse guilt trips with arguments. And I don't stay in rooms where I'm only valued for what I provide, even if those rooms share my last name. I don't think Brianna is evil. She's broken in a specific way. She was the golden child who never learned how to fail, never learned responsibility, never learned consequences. When life got hard, she didn't have coping skills. She had denial. She had shopping. She had me. And me? I was the invisible child. The one who learned early that asking for help was pointless. That independence wasn't a choice. It was survival. That's why I gave her my social security number. I didn't know I was allowed to say no. So if you're watching this and something feels familiar, if you're always the strong one, the responsible one, the one who figures it out, hear this. You are allowed to stop being the easy one. Protecting yourself isn't betrayal. It's survival. And choosing yourself doesn't make you heartless. It makes you free. If you've ever had to choose between keeping the peace and keeping your self-respect, you're not alone. Drop your story in the comments. I read every single one, and if this resonated with you, subscribe for more real stories like this. Take care of yourself. You deserve it.